You were in another classic recently that I saw on TV.
Yeah, well, there's 2 or 3 actually. I've been kind of fortunate.
The Jim Thorpe story. We have a clip that we're going to show. Can you explain what you were doing here? And
I think what you'll probably show is me running back from school, and then beating the buck wagon back, and then a conversation with my dad about how it's important for me to go to school.
oh, okay.
Jim.
Well, the boy's in school, Charlotte. I think he'll stay there this time. I took him far enough away, so. Jim, how'd you get here?
He ran.
You ran 15 miles?
Only 12, Pa. I came through the hills.
Did you hear that, Charlotte? 12 miles through the hills.
I hope he enjoyed it, because he goes back to school tomorrow.
I run away.
You're his father. You taught him all the things he likes to do. Now teach him what he has to do.
There's a funny thing about that. The director was Michael Curtiz, and I remember a conversation with him where he actually said, "Do what I mean, not what I say." He was German, I think, or something, but he had a kind of an accent that was a little difficult. But I kind of felt bad about that movie in a way, because what was odd, and I felt a little bad about it, was they had a running double. I wasn't the one who did the running.
You couldn't run.
Well, I could run, sure I could run.
They didn't want you to get hurt.
Apparently that's what it was. But I didn't see it that way at the time. I felt like I was being dissed big time.
So you were how old in that film? About
I must have been 10.
10?
Yeah.
And then you went on to...
I think I might have got the Day There Stood Still after that, and then just shortly after that, a couple other ones that show on TV all the time, on Moonlight Bay and By the Light of the Silvery Moon with Doris Day and Gordon McRae, and they've become perennials.
Oh yeah.
And then I got a movie, my starring movie, which the only movie that I ever starred in, was shortly before getting Father Knows Best. I did a movie called Talk About a Stranger, where I was this, my title was as big as the other people, you know. It was, my mother was Davis, the yet to be or soon to be First Lady.
Nancy?
Nancy
Yeah.
Davis, right.
Yeah.
And Murray played my father.
Oh.
And it was my movie though, which was neat, because I was kind of a disruptive character, and anyway, it was fun to do, and my character's name was Bud.
Oh, what?
Yeah, and then right after that, I got an interview for the Father Knows Best series, and where I played Bud, the All-American Boy.
And that was like for, like you said, what, 6 years?
Yes, we produced it for 6 years, and then it went into reruns and held its spot in at 8 o'clock, I think it was. For the next 2 years, they just ran reruns in prime time. It was kind of unusual, and it became a big success. Now, there's something. Robert Young told me this story, and I like to retell it whenever I can, because it's really important. The show was a radio show before it became a TV show, and the title was Father Knows Best ? There was some irony involved.
So I didn't know that.
Yeah, nobody does. That's why I like to tell the story. And so they figured they'd just continue that, you know, and I mean, it's so, well, here's what happened. They got everything together, they made their thing, and they couldn't find a sponsor that had the time slot that they could go in and show it. The only one they could find was Kent Cigarettes, P. Lorillard Company, and the murderers at Kent Cigarettes did not want the question mark. They said they wanted a declarative statement, father knows best. And Robert Young told me, he said, I fought for the question mark, but it was a deal breaker with them. And so he rolled, and so it became Father Knows Best, which is tantamount to Seek Heil in my book. You know,
yeah.
It's totally 180 degrees, and Robert Young had it right the first time. I mean, the essence of Father Knows Best question mark is question authority. And to thine own self be true, and that's an important message. You trust yourself, and it got turned around and upside down, and now it's Father Knows Best, and pay attention to whatever he says. You know,
right.
There's a furor. So that's why I like to tell that story. Because poor Bob, his great concept was turned upside down.
It was turned upside down. How old were you when you did that?
I guess I was 14, 15. I must have been 15 because I had a car. I had a driver's license, and I was driving a motorcycle to work for the first couple of years, and I was racing at the same time on weekends at Saugus and San Fernando. I had a 650 Triumph on fuel, on nitro, and I would go out on the weekends, and best time I ever got was 118. And another guy rode my bike, he got 121 out of it.
Wow.
But he wasn't worried about the transmission. He was banging and shifting. But I was a little more careful with the shifting. But anyway, I was doing that on the weekends, and then when they found out about it, they said, no, you can't do that. That's no good. You know,
Right, fit, because you were under contract, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the strange thing about it is that they didn't mind me riding my motorcycle to work, which was infinitely more dangerous than what I was doing on the weekends. But so anyway, I stopped the drag racing, but I did, after the show was over with, I did get back into racing.
Yeah.
Which I
Did you do any more films or TV after Father Knows Best?
I did a little bit of TV. I don't think I did any movies. One much later, like 10 years later, I did a movie with Dean Stockwell and Russ Tamblyn and a whole panoply of crazies from Hollywood. It was Dennis Hopper, his movie after Easy Rider.
Oh.
It was called The Last Movie, and he took all the crazies he knew and went down to Peru and made a really good movie, but they took it away from him and kind of ruined it in their edit. But that's the only movie I did. I'd done a few TV shows. I did like a Hitchcock and about a half a dozen different TV shows. But the problem was that I'd gotten busted for grass right after, like, 1962, I think it was.
And that hurt you?
Oh, it just totally ruined the whole deal.
Doesn't do that today.
No, now it's a plus.
Exactly.
But at the time, there wasn't any real distinction between marijuana and hard drugs. So if you're caught with marijuana, you end up being tagged as a dope fiend. And so I lost my agent. My agent said he couldn't do anything for me, and I got another agent. He couldn't do anything for me. I couldn't get into an office.
Oh, that's terrible.
And so it was tough times. But fortunately, I had done enough acting where I enjoyed it and everything, but it wasn't. My life didn't revolve around. I mean, it didn't destroy me that I wasn't working. I had other things that I could do that I was interested in. But it did put an end to what might have been a reasonable career. I think my career probably would have been something like Michael Fox's was after his TV show. I mean, he's obviously a talented guy, and I think I have a certain amount of talent as well. And I think my acting on Father Knows Best was, if I do say so myself, pretty good, because people didn't really realize I was acting.
That's what makes a good actor.
That's what I
Very,
think.
yeah, absolutely, it's natural.
But the problem is with the people who are hiring, they're supposed to be sophisticated people, but they aren't. You know, the directors have and producers have no imagination. So they saw me doing that show and said, well, that's him, and we don't really necessarily want that, you know. So they didn't